Yes, Sudanese ambassador. Yes, please.
Are you a little concerned by the new draft resolution that doesn't actually explicitly say that Khartoum's consent is required?
Not very much concerned because we are not consulted on it.
Can I ask you one question? The president.
No, carry on.
The president of Sudan was quoted as saying he would fight. That Sudan would fight a UN force like Sudan is Hezbollah, and the forces that come in are like Israel. So the president of the council just said, how does that relate, given that UNMISS is in South Sudan? Could you explain the discrepancy?
Well, I don't want to comment on what the president of the council said, but the crux of the issue is that what the president says represents reiteration of the position of the government of Sudan on the issue of the transition. For the Sudan, it seems to us that now, for many actors, the issue of sending UN troops to Darfur is becoming intrinsically an objective, an intrinsic objective in itself, regardless of the role or the purpose for what we are going to send these troops. Now, people are saying, the drafters are saying, we want to send the troops to help the Sudanese people. If the Sudanese say no, we want you to help us in another way, and they insist on the way they want to help, then I think the sending of the troops in itself is becoming an objective, not the stabilization and the assistance of Sudanese people to improve the situation in Darfur.
So why do you think they're sending troops?
I'm sorry?
Why do you think the UN Security Council wants to send these troops then?
Well, ask the drafters, I mean.
No, I'm asking you what you
I'm not speculating.
So what is the help that you think should be given? If not peacekeepers, what then stops this
No,
crisis?
there are peacekeepers, the AU peacekeepers, Sudan government, according to the way we see, give the resources to the AU. Why are we, rightly the president of the council just said, the moment that there was a feeling there is, the issue of transition is not clear, those who have the money withheld the money. So if you are genuine, continue giving them the money until the last day of their mandate and then see next. But
ما هو موقف الحكومة السودانية من إرسال قوات إلى دارفور؟
كنت أقول أنه موقف حكومة السودان واضح في موضوع القوات، الرفض واضح لإرسال أي قوات دولية إلى دارفور. السودان يرحب بدعم الأمم المتحدة لقوات الاتحاد الأفريقي الموجودة على الأرض.
Can I ask you one question about the Sudanese government's involvement in the negotiations between the government of Uganda and the LRA in Juba? They always quote the government of South Sudan. Is Khartoum involved in those talks?
Well, the government of South Sudan is a level of governance in Sudan, and the central government is fully supportive to that initiative. Yeah.
Just a follow-up. The African Union themselves have agreed in principle to a transfer for the UN force. You're a member of the African Union.
That is we had a very long discussion on who has the right to transfer. I mean, this was an agreement between the government of, legally speaking, the government of Sudan and the African Union. We gave them the mandate to come and help us in stabilize the situation. They have no, though legally speaking, the African Union has no right to transfer.
What will happen if UN troops are deployed without the consent of Sudan?
We said where the Sudan government is opposing to the sending of troops to the government to Darfur, and I cannot see how anybody can envisage sending troops to a country which is not welcoming those troops. And you can ask the troop contributors if they will send troops also.
كيف تقيمون الوضع على الأرض في دارفور في ظل رفض سيادة الرئيس حسن البشير؟
الوضع الأرض في دارفور لا يرتبط بما تقوله من رفض رئيس السودان للقوات الدولية. الوضع يرتبط بتقاعس المجتمع الدولي في إرسال رسالة واضحة بدعمه القوي لعملية السلام التي تم التوقيع عليه، وإرسال الرسائل الواضحة للذين يسعون إلى ترويج أو تقويض تنفيذ ذلك الاتفاق.
Mr. Ambassador, could you explain, since the United Nations already has a peacekeeping mission in the South, why is there such a strong objection to having a mission in Darfur? I mean, the government, the mission in the south certainly hasn't really infringed on the sovereignty of Sudan.
No, not at all, not at all, and they are doing a good job. But the African Union was doing a good job. So the question is also could be sent back to why the people are precipitated in getting the African Union out and finding other alternatives without even the prior earlier consultation or consent of the government of Sudan. And this is the reason why the government of Sudan believes there is something which is not clear. Something, I mean...
The African, having been in Sudan with the Security Council and in Ethiopia, the African Union maintains that they don't have a steady source of funding and they don't have the proper equipment, and that transferring peacekeeping to a United Nations force would provide the troops and the beefed up equipment that are needed to bring the deteriorating security situation under control.
The fact that the UN force will have the full resources, and that if there is a transition, the African Union will have more than the needed resources, is also a reason for the government of Sudan to rethink twice the motives behind the moves. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.